This is the Transforming Anxiety Podcast with Kelly Hanlon McCormick, and today is episode number 240, Our Lying Minds. Welcome to Transforming Anxiety. I'm your host, Kelly McCormick. I'm a mom to 2 boys, a wife, friend, daughter, and sister, and I'm a certified life coach, yoga teacher, and soon-to-be mindfulness meditation teacher. I'm no stranger to anxiety, and I'm here to teach you how to manage your mind and your emotions so that you too can transform anxiety into calm, peace, and whatever you want for your life. I'm so glad you're here. Hey there, welcome in today. How are ya? You know, I like to pretend we're just hanging out, you and me, while we have these conversations. I mean, honestly, I'd also really like to hear what you have to say and what you think. So these conversations are way more Kelly heavy than what we'd actually be doing. But still, I like to imagine that we are driving together or cooking together or getting ready together or going for a walk together. Although remember how you used to do that in high school and college, how you'd all get ready together with your friends? Like we would all crowd around the bathroom mirror or get in someone's closet and share clothes and help with hair and all that. That was fun. It's a random memory there. When I was in college, there were 4 of us that lived in this really old apartment together, downtown Milwaukee, 4th floor, no elevator, the whole bit. So like the furniture, the couches in particular in the apartment, this apartment, it was always rented out to college students. So we just kept whatever was left there when we moved in, and then we just left it all there when we moved out, right? Those, like, who knows what those couches had seen? It's so kind of gross, but very collegiate, isn't it? My bedroom was the old dining room. I don't know how exactly these apartments were chopped up back in the day, but my bedroom was the old dining room, and there was this huge built-in hutch. So there were all these shelves and cupboards and stuff built into this one wall. On the back of it, behind the shelves, instead of like wood paneling or whatever, it was a mirror. And so we would all get into my dining room turned bedroom, and we would do our hair and our makeup and stuff in there. We only had one bathroom for the 4 of us, so fun. Anyway, that's random. Today we're going to talk about thoughts, but we're going to do this in a specific way. I want to focus on something today that I think is really helpful for us to remember when we think about thinking, and that is our minds will think anything. Our minds are shameless, really. Our minds will offer up any idea, any comment, any story, at any time. And I want to spotlight this today, this tendency of our minds to talk non-stop, right? That inner commentary that goes on and on and on. It's like those ticker tapes that never end, you know, at the bottom of the screen when you're watching the news. I had a student once who called it the terror tape. That non-stop inner chatter. I love that. So spot on, right? But I want to look at that part of thought today. Basically, the part where we come to terms with the fact that our minds lie to us. My intention, you know, I love to offer up an intention for our conversations. And my intention for today is that we can collectively hit the pause button and that we can zoom out a bit so that we can look at our thoughts. Just get some perspective. We spend a lot of time caught up in our thoughts, right? Believing them, feeling them, acting on them. And I want our conversation today to be like hitting a pause button so we can just examine it a bit more closely and get more aware, that we can tune in, that we can pay attention to the inner machinations of our storytelling minds and see them for what they are. Because a lot of times, our minds are lying to us. So Eckhart Tolle wrote this: life isn't as serious as the mind makes it out to be. Yeah? Also this from Tolle. The primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but thought about it. Be aware of the thoughts you are thinking. Separate them from the situation, which is always neutral. It is as it is. And one of our mind's favorite lies to tell about any situation that arises is, this shouldn't be happening. Right? This shouldn't be happening. That's a good one. Our minds take a look around. They see reality. The mind sees what's playing out in life. This is real time, right? This is actually happening. And our minds say, nope, this shouldn't be happening. What? This is so fun, right? Whatever is happening is happening. But we mentally push back, right? We say no, and we suffer. Our minds lie to us when they spin this alternate narrative. Like there's really another option here. But we sometimes fall for this, right? Or often we fall for this. This is kind of akin to that bargaining piece in the grief process. Like if this, then that, right? If this had gone another way, then we wouldn't be dealing with that. If I had said or done this differently, then something else altogether would be here now. It's futile. We do it, but it's a futile exercise in make-believe. All right, the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu said, stop thinking and end your problems. I mean, we really glorify thinking, don't we? We put so much importance on how we think. What do you think? What does she think? What do they think? We think it's important to learn more and to consume more information and to take in someone else's thinking about something. What's their opinion? What's the op-ed? What are they saying? So we spend a lot of time in our heads focusing on how we think. Now, thinking gets really loud, of course. And we as humans, all of our relationships, our conversations, our storytelling, it's like we focus our language around thinking, right? We ask people, what do you think? And honestly, listen to this. Sometimes we ask people, how do you feel? But how do we answer that question? Someone asks you how you're feeling and you give them how you're thinking, right? This happens all the time with my students. I will ask, yes, and how did that make you feel? How are you feeling right now? Can you find the feeling? And they'll say, well, I feel like she should have said this, and then this should have happened. And I say, yeah. How do you feel? And they'll say, I feel like my kids should listen to me. It's like, okay, no. How do you feel? Like we focus even that on thought. So this is an interesting concept. Stop thinking and end your problems. I mean, this is one tool, yeah? Don't tell a story about it. Don't talk to yourself about it. Feel it. Let it be. Maybe even accept it. There are other things you can do. There are other ways to practice. But maybe thinking about it is something you could let go of, even for a moment, right? Stop thinking and end your problems. I mean, maybe. At least sometimes, yeah? All right, let's talk for a moment about where our thoughts come from. Let's consider this. Our thoughts come from all over the place, but a few thought creators are our past thoughts, right? We think a lot of the same thoughts over and over and over again. This is where the vast majority of our thoughts come from. We're just thinking old thoughts over and over. So another thought creator is our desires, our wants, and our preferences. Like we think a lot about what would make our lives easier, what we want to have happen, what we like. And when things don't go our way, or there's something new to figure out, or a challenge to overcome, our thoughts can veer towards not this, right? We glom onto what we want and we push against what we don't want. So another one is routines and habits and patterns. Our brains are really expensive organs to run. Like your brain consumes about 20% of the calories that you eat every day just to operate your brain, which means the more our brains can habitualize, the better. The easier and more streamlined things are, the less it costs our brains to run. So things that are usual, that are typical and familiar are what we default towards. This means that your thoughts are also of the routine, habitual, and patterned kind of thinking, right? Another biggie is cultural conditioning and societal norms. We are enormously influenced and pressured and deeply affected by the cultural conditioning and the societal norms that we see in ads, the media, online, on TV, and in movies, and in the people around us. Our families of origin, communities, workplaces, neighborhoods, organizations, friend groups, they all have expectations and roles, and we are swayed by what we are supposed to be doing. Our thoughts are largely made up of this kind of stuff. Krishnamurti, the Indian philosopher, he said this, and this was later popularized by Jane Fonda. But the quote goes like this: "You think you're thinking your thoughts. You are not. You are thinking the culture's thoughts." So this is yet another way our minds lie to us. We think we're thinking original thoughts, that we're coming up with belief systems and choosing how to think and feel and act, that we're all just autonomously and independently coming up with how we're thinking and feeling and acting. But we are so deeply influenced by the world around us. This quote comes up often in the mindfulness world. You think you're thinking your thoughts. You are not. You are thinking the culture's thoughts. This is a really good reminder. All right, have you ever noticed a thought or a story that you're telling yourself, or maybe, and this is even more fun, maybe you're actually telling a story. You're sharing your thoughts or ideas with other people, and you catch yourself and you think, what is happening right now? Like, why am I thinking this? Why am I saying this? You don't know where it came from or why it's taking up room in your mind or why you'd go so far as to actually speak those words into existence. And yet, there you are, right? It's an interesting moment when we notice our thoughts. Like, this is a moment worth hitting the pause button on and taking a second with. Because if you can notice what you're thinking, then your thoughts are not you. Like, how could you notice them if they are you? You with me? And further to that, who is creating the thoughts? You aren't consciously generating every thought and every story and every idea you have. It's like they just arise out of nowhere most of the time. They show up and are like, hi, here's an idea. Here's something I've been playing with. And if we're paying attention, it's our job, it's our invitation, right, to sift through those thoughts and challenge ourselves. Do I want this? Does this serve me? Is this remotely in the same dimension as me? Because as one of my meditation teachers likes to remind us, our minds will think anything. Our minds are absolutely shameless about it. They'll offer up any idea, however wild, however silly, however far-fetched, like a used car salesman just waiting to see what sticks. And if we're paying attention, we have the opportunity to sift through those thoughts and go, wait a second. I don't want to buy that. I don't like that one. I don't believe that. I can, at the very least, question that and see if it's at all real or true or merits any time or effort on my part. And also, I'm free to simply delete things, ideas and stories and thoughts that aren't serving me. I can just delete them. I was watching a Brene Brown thing on Netflix recently. It's called A Call to Courage. And she said her research has shown that there is one sentence that the most resilient and emotionally intelligent or capable people use, one sentence that they return to, something that she has seen show up thousands of times across the board. And it is this sentence: the story I'm telling myself is ... That people in relationships or at work or with themselves, when they're able to pause and say, wait, I'm telling myself a story here, and it goes like this. Which means they recognize that their minds are concocting tales and spinning yarns that may or may not be anywhere close to reality. They know that they can get lost in their minds and their opinions and their assumptions and their past experiences. They know that they overlay everything that happens with a filter of themselves. So they aren't ever getting a clear picture of what's what. So remembering that our minds are not always right is so helpful. Like, our brains are really good at driving cars and making brownies and changing light bulbs, right? They're good at so many things, but our brains are not reliable narrators for our lives. And when we know that, when we can remember that our minds can and will lie to us, we are in a more mindful place to manage our relationships, our work, our kids, our conversations, our lives. Our minds are not 100% liars, not totally, right? But be willing to check in with your stories, with your beliefs, with your thoughts. I think it's kind of fun too. This is one of my favorite questions to ask myself and to ask my students. Who would I be without this thought? Like, whenever a particularly hairy or painful thought, something that you just can't let go of, or something you've come to completely identify yourself with, like asking yourself this: what if I never had this thought? What if it had never occurred to me? Then what? Who would I be? What would be possible? This is usually extremely eye-opening. And look around. We can always find someone in our real lives, someone we actually know, that never thinks the thought we're all caught up with. Someone who never worries that way, someone who never gets anxious that way, someone who never stresses out about that kind of thing. We can always find an example in our lives, and it's kind of like, I wonder what that's like, right? Just sort of interesting to think about. And you're going to think about something, right? Your minds are always thinking, so you might as well direct your mind a bit and think about something sort of useful like that, you know? All right, so that's a little bit about our lying minds, how clever and creative our minds can be when they're writing up stories to tell us, how they don't always use great information, right? We don't have fact checkers up there going through things and editing thoughts before they reach our conscious awareness. It's all just crappy first drafts. No censoring, no second guessing whatsoever, right? Hone those stories. Edit them. Mold them into the narratives you want to be thinking and telling and sharing and living. Thoughts matter. Now, getting out of your mind and letting go of those thoughts can be enormously helpful too, of course. But thoughts matter. They dictate so much of how we feel and what we do. So it's vital that we pay attention. And just remember, it's not all true. It's not all real. It's not all happening the way we think it's happening. We're wrong a lot. We make wild assumptions and we just like copy and paste past stuff onto present stuff in totally erroneous ways. So check in, notice that, get aware, and be willing to edit the hell out of it because it makes a difference. Yeah? All right, folks, I will see you next week at the same time, same place for more Transforming Anxiety. I have a couple more interviews this year coming up that I think are going to be great conversations. I'm excited to bring those to you. It's always fun sharing cool people and I don't know, the ways that different people, different writers or thinkers or teachers talk about some similar ideas, right? But in their own ways, in their own words. So I'm excited to share those with you. And then we're going to start winding down this year together, right? Closing out 2023, looking towards 2024. Yeah? Yeah. All right. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and we will talk again soon. And until then, please take care. Do you have someone to help you with your stress, anxiety, worry, and overwhelm? If not, I would love to be your coach. The Fierce Calm Project is my virtual coaching program where we get to go in on topics like this one, and I can help you apply these lessons to your life so that you're creating your own transformation. We do live coaching calls, guided meditations, on-demand yoga classes. We hold book club where we read books your neighborhood book club won't, and there's lots of bonus content that I've created just for you. When you're ready to take what you're learning on the podcast to a whole other level, then come on over and check out the Fierce Calm Project at kellyhanlonmccormick.com/Fierce Calm Project.